Good afternoon, everyone. Great to see everyone that's with us so far. We're just going to give a few more minutes and then we'll get started. All right, I see it's 12 o'clock on the nose, and I want to be considerate of everyone's time. So my name is Renee Young with the United Way of Greater Waterbury, and I thank you so webinar where we are raising awareness of food insecurity in our area as we lead up to United Way Worldwide's Day of Action to raise awareness about local issues and encourage volunteerism for our local United in our community. And for our local United Way, that is our annual Stock the Pantry. And for this year, we'll be celebrating our 20th annual Stock the Pantry, and we'll share more about that later. Right now, I have the pleasure of introducing Jackie Reberdy, Resource and Engagement Coordinator at Connecticut Foodshare, who will discuss Connecticut Foodshare's mission, provide insight into the current state of food insecurity in our area, as well as explore ways that we can collaborate to support our neighbors in need. So thank you again for being here, and I will turn it over to Jackie.
Thank you so much, Renee. I appreciate that. And I'm thrilled to be here today to talk a little bit about Connecticut Foodshare, our mission, the current state of food insecurity in Waterbury, and what we can all do together to support our neighbors in need. So as Renee said, my name is Jackie Reberdy, and I'm the Resource and Engagement Coordinator at Connecticut Foodshare with our network and programs team, which supports our partner pantries and kitchens. So today I'm just going to start off with a little bit about who Connecticut Foodshare is, what we do, and why we're positioned to speak to food insecurity in Greater Waterbury. Connecticut Foodshare is the largest food bank in Connecticut and the only Feeding America affiliated one. Feeding America is the largest charity working to end hunger in the US and supports a network of over 200 food banks across the country by facilitating relationships with large food donors like Walmart and Stop and Shop, while also advocating for anti-hunger policies at the national level. As a food bank, we work with our network of over 400 pantries, shelters, and soup kitchens to distribute nutritious foods to neighbors in need across the state. Volunteers are integral to this process, and we'll come back to the incredible impact that they have. So our mission is to deliver an informed and equitable response to hunger by mobilizing community partners, volunteers, and supporters. In support of this mission, we focus on increasing access to nutritionally and culturally preferred foods, investing in our partners, creating lasting food security through wraparound resources and policy, and embodying equity by centering the voices of those with lived experience. So what is food insecurity and how do we define it? Food insecurity is the state of being without reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable, nutritious food that all household members at all times have access to enough food for an active and healthy lifestyle. Food security is about more than having enough food to eat. Rather, it's about having enough affordable and nutritious food. If someone does not have access to affordable, nutritious food, they're likely to be food insecure. And most people living in neighborhoods or areas with lower median incomes often have significantly less access to healthy foods compared to unhealthy foods. And when they do, healthy foods can be very expensive. We know that in every county in the United States, including all 169 towns in Connecticut, there is food insecurity. That is why throughout this presentation, you will hear me refer to food insecure individuals as our neighbors, because they are. We are one of the richest states in the nation, and yet food insecurity persists in every community. Why is that? Well, food insecurity doesn't occur in a vacuum. It's the result of a number of environmental factors that we refer to as root causes. Examples of root causes of food insecurity are seen here, things like stagnant wages, lack of access to nutritional food, unaffordable healthcare, unaffordable housing, and limited access to transportation. These systemic inequities also disproportionately impact people of color and other marginalized groups. Unfortunately, many people in America struggle to meet their basic needs, which increases their risk of food insecurity. For example, layoffs at work, unexpected car maintenance, or an accident can suddenly force a family to choose between buying food and paying bills. And geography, of course, is also at play when thinking about food insecurity. Many food insecure families lived in areas deemed food deserts, where food resources in their area are limited. Food deserts are prevalent in rural and urban areas where it's common to live far from a grocery store or a food pantry, and other barriers such as limited access to transportation make it inconvenient to obtain nutritious and affordable food. Food swamps, on the other hand, are areas with limited access to affordable, nutritious food, but they're saturated with unhealthy options like fast food chains and convenience stores. In a food desert, it becomes difficult for residents to find food, leading to insecurity. And in a food swamp, residents have no difficulty finding food, but often end up eating cheap and unhealthy meals. So this leads us to some impacts of food insecurity. It contributes to poor health outcomes because people aren't getting the food or nutrition, more importantly, that they need. It leads to serious health issues such as diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease. And people must choose between spending money on food or medicine and healthcare. It negatively affects the physical and mental development in children, making it more difficult for a child to learn and grow. And food insecurity can lead to difficult decisions like choosing between food and rent, bills, transportation, and childcare. So looking at Connecticut, food insecurity is rising year after year. This is true nationwide. And for Connecticut data, the most recent that we have was released this May. It's for the 2023 data year. And that shows that food insecurity rose by about 10% from 2022 to 2023. That's about 54,000 more food insecure neighbors. The last set of data from 2022 showed 1 in 8 neighbors in Connecticut were food insecure, and now it shows 1 in 7 are food insecure, and that's equivalent to about 517,000 people, which includes 1 in 6 children. It's also important to note that racial and ethnic disparities exist in 100% of counties nationwide, according to Feeding America, and certainly in Connecticut as well. Although food insecurity can impact anyone, the systemic inequities contributing to the root causes of food insecurity disproportionately impact people of color and other marginalized groups. Here we can see the racial and ethnic disparities among Connecticut residents experiencing food insecurity. About 1 in 3 Hispanic or Latino residents and 1 in 4 Black or African American residents are experiencing food insecurity, compared to 1 in 10 white Connecticut residents. I also want to take a minute to highlight what we've seen happen since the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, when food insecurity and the response to it was very visible. It may surprise you to hear that from 2020 to 2021, food insecurity did not rise. This was due to significant federal pandemic response, which included the child tax credit, earned income tax credit, stimulus payments, and boost to SNAP. As these policies came to an end, food prices continued to rise. We saw food insecurity rates bounce back up, increasing by a staggering 40% since 2020. And this includes a significant increase among children and seniors. So, what does Connecticut Foodshare do to address this? We're able to leverage our buying power to purchase food in bulk and cultivate relationships with industry partners like Stop and Shop to rescue surplus foods, which are sorted by volunteers and stored in our warehouse in Wallingford. Food is then either delivered to or picked up by our partner programs, and it will be loaded onto our mobile food trucks as well and distributed amongst the community. The over 650 programs we distribute to, including our mobiles, then serve our neighbors across Connecticut. And then in addition to serving our neighbors through increased access to food, we also provide other services like support to our agency partners, like our pantries and soup kitchens and shelters. We have invested heavily in our network relations team who support our programs in various ways. We now have 10 network relations representatives who are responsible for about 50 programs each, which is a dramatic reduction, allowing them to spend time developing deeper relationships and helping programs cultivate a welcoming environment for neighbors rather than just being compliance enforcers at programs. This focus ultimately keeps neighbors centered in our work and helps provide our neighbors with a more dignified experience. Another program that we are really proud of is our SNAP outreach program. Our SNAP outreach team is dedicated to helping individuals apply for and navigate their SNAP benefit applications in both English and Spanish. The team of staff and volunteers has helped over 13,000 households apply for SNAP since the program began. Now, we only have one direct service program, which is our mobile food pantry program. We have over 100 sites across the state, including 4 in Waterbury, where neighbors can get food in a farmer's market style, no questions asked. You don't need to be a resident of that town or present ID, and you can go to as many stops as you want over any period of time. You can follow the truck from stop to stop. We do not place any restrictions. Unfortunately, we do know that there are some people who haven't been coming to the mobile sites due to fear of ICE, but we have informed our sites of their rights, and they're committed to providing a safe place for people who need food to be able to receive it. We also have a texting service now where you can text Foodshare, all caps, or Comida, all caps, for Spanish speakers, to 85511 to get information on mobile sites near you and schedule changes and cancellations as they occur. And this is always fun to share. In an effort to provide nutritious and culturally relevant foods, we've added hydroponic farms to our Wallingford site. Created by a company called Freight Farms, they're 2 shipping containers and they live in our parking lot. Each is about 340 square feet, which is like the size of a studio apartment for comparison. But they have the production capacity of 2.5 acres each. So we have 5 acres of hydroponic farmland sitting in our parking lot right now. And this fact always blows my mind. Each one only consumes 5 gallons of water per day. You would think it would be higher, but truly only 10 gallons are used for both of the Freight Farms daily. And with that, we can grow 108,415 plants a year. And these are mainly leafy greens like kale, mustard greens, collard greens, romaine lettuce, arugula, and bok choy. And there's a harvest of the hydroponics about every 2 weeks. All of this work is made possible by our wonderful volunteers. In the last year, we have seen 6,000 volunteers come through to help sort food, serve food at the mobile pantries, help with SNAP applications, harvest hydroponic greens, and offer their time on a variety of other projects. I cannot overstate how important volunteers are to fulfilling our mission. Their 46,000 hours of work is equivalent to 23 full-time staff members and absolutely invaluable to moving food out into the community. They really are the true heroes. And we aren't just grateful for the volunteers at our own facility, but many volunteers that are the backbone of our partner agencies. Many food pantries and soup kitchens have few to no paid staff members and rely solely on dedicated volunteers to keep running. We're lucky to have such a steadfast network here in Connecticut who are devoted to serving our neighbors to the best of their ability. Through all this work, we've been able to serve over 44 million meals in the past year. And while this number is incredible, unfortunately, it is not enough. Connecticut still needs 98 million meals to close the meal gap, which is why we are always grateful for anyone who wants to be a part of solving food insecurity. So now I just want to take a moment to zoom out and discuss what's going on at the federal level, how it impacts Connecticut Foodshare, our partners, and our neighbors. Since the new administration took effect in January of 2025, we have seen changes impacting our funding and creating an atmosphere of fear for our partners and neighbors. We have lost $1 million in funding after cuts were made to the local food purchasing assistance program, which allowed us to buy local produce from Connecticut farmers with a specific focus on BIPOC farmers. This program was a win-win-win. It was a win for us, it was a win for farmers, and it was a win for neighbors who had access to fresh local produce. Connecticut will certainly feel the loss of this program. We also learned that a total of 34 bonus loads of TFAP food, or food provided to us by the government, had been canceled, mostly for the months of April, May, and June. This is about $1.7 million in value. These are foods like chicken, milk, cheese, beans, nutrient-dense foods. We don't know what will happen next on this front, but we are prepared for more cuts. Unfortunately, we are also anticipating the devastating effects the state could experience if the current reconciliation bill is enacted. In its current form, the bill seeks to cut SNAP, formerly known as food stamps, by $267 billion and Medicaid by $625 billion over the next decade. Nearly 11 million people would see cuts to their ability to access food, and about 10 million could lose health care. And I mentioned Medicaid cuts because the loss of health care will lengthen lines at pantries and soup kitchens. Food is simply an easier resource to replace than medicine, and these issues are deeply connected. Funding cuts to non-emergency food-related programs can still indirectly impact the amount of neighbors seeking food assistance. Now, SNAP is our nation's most effective anti-hunger program, providing 9 meals for every 1 meal that the food bank provides. I just wanted to state that again because it's really important. SNAP can provide 9 meals for every 1 meal that we can provide. We are already seeing less food come through our doors, and we will not be able to make up the difference that the SNAP cuts will create. Right now, the federal government fully funds SNAP benefits and splits the administration costs with states 50-50. However, these cuts will shift benefit costs to the states as well as increase the administrative burden to about 75%. And this is unprecedented. Benefits have always been paid by the federal government, and it's simply impossible for states to take on this kind of cost. And it's going to force them to either cut programs, limit SNAP access, or raise taxes. And in addition to cuts, this bill seeks to implement stricter work requirements for those on SNAP and could result in neighbors receiving lower benefits or losing them altogether. Prior to any of this taking effect, we were already seeing less food come through our doors due to rising food prices and food donors becoming more efficient about food waste. They're facing those same food costs as well. They now sell more foods that they usually would have come to us, especially meats and produce, which are, of course, two highly sought after foods by our programs. So our partners were already seeing their supply go down as need was increasing, and that's only gotten worse with the cuts we've already seen. And there's a lot of concern over what's going to happen in the coming months and years. Will programs have to place limits on how much food each neighbor receives? Will they have to reduce their hours? Will they have enough funding to serve their community? Food prices could even see another hike of about 3.5% if tariffs go into effect. Unfortunately, we can't be everything to everyone, which is why we need a robust network of donors and volunteers to tackle food insecurity. And if this topic interests you and you want to see any of our press releases on ongoing changes that have happened or are coming up, you can visit our website, ctfoodshare.org, and click news at the top of the page. The link is also on this slide. So now that we've done that, let's zoom back into Greater Waterbury. This slide shows the 2023 food insecurity rates for Greater Waterbury, with a focus on the 10 towns served by the United Way of Greater Waterbury. And again, this is the latest data we have. It was released by Feeding America last month, but it's from the 2023 data year. So while the food insecurity rate in most of Greater Waterbury is actually lower than the statewide rate, you'll notice that Waterbury in particular is quite high. 23% of residents in Waterbury do not have reliable access to a sufficient quantity of affordable and nutritious food, and this is an increase of almost 4% since 2021. Waterbury's food insecurity rate is only lower than Hartford's, whose rate is 24.6%. And if you are curious about other town food insecurity rates, you can visit our website's Hunger and CT page, which is at ctfoodshare.org/hunger-and-CT. There's an interactive map there that has some information that you can gather. We have active programs in about 7 of the 10 towns in this region, including Bethlehem, Woodbury, Wolcott, Thomaston, Waterbury, Southbury, and Cheshire. And here I just put a table of the populations of food insecure individuals in each town. Even in these small towns, the amount of people without access to enough nutritious food can be surprising. Take Bethlehem, for example, a town of about 3,400 people, and yet it still has 420 individuals who lack the access to the food they need for a healthy and active lifestyle. And here is that same area with a map of our partner programs and mobile pantry locations so that you can see the concentration of programs compared with the need that we saw on the last slide. Given that there's the most need in Waterbury, and that's where most of our programs in this region are concentrated, that's where I will be focusing for the next few slides. And happy to go back at the end of the presentation if anyone wants to take a closer look at any of the maps that I've put up today. This map is what it looks like if we zoom in on Waterbury. We have 20 pantries and soup kitchens in Waterbury that do an excellent job of serving our neighbors. Our network relations representative for the area, Jessica Vargas, has done an amazing job helping coordinate the hours of each program to ensure programs are open at different times so that neighbors can access them more conveniently. Most recently, she helped onboard Casa del Alfarero, a Spanish-speaking focused program, which will be open on the first Saturday and third Monday of the month from 5 to 7 p.m. to be accessible to those who work during the day. It's not as common for pantries to be open during these hours, so this was a really great win for the area. And here is a look of what we distributed to Waterbury in the past year through pantries and soup kitchens, as well as our 4 mobile pantries. In total, we distributed about 1.7 million pounds of food in Waterbury, but still need about 2 million meals to close the gap. About 14,000 people rely on these distributions per month. And at Connecticut Foodshare, we believe that receiving food assistance should be dignified and welcoming experience, and have invested in our partners to keep neighbors centered in our work. One of the ways we do this is with our Community Impact Grant Award, which has operated for the past 3 years. During that time, we awarded $149,000 to 14 different agencies in Waterbury so they could purchase new freezers and refrigerators, brighten the space with new paint, add chairs to the waiting area so people can get off their feet after waiting in line, added Spanish and English signage to be more accessible, and Yukon Waterbury's Husky Harvest have used their funds to install refrigerated lockers for students to grab groceries outside of pantry hours and small hydroponic stands for growing leafy greens, which are both pictured here. And the refrigerated lockers are the only refrigerated lockers in Connecticut right now. So it's a really unique thing that is available to students at Yukon Waterbury. Now, I would really like to share a story about a neighbor in Waterbury to put a face to all of these numbers. Carla first joined the first cohort of culinary training program at St. Vincent de Paul Mission in Waterbury in 2022. Trained by chefs Phil and Frank, she learned kitchen skills and found a sense of community. Quote, "It was enjoyable. We all got along like family," end quote. Now employed by the city of Waterbury, Carla still volunteers many days each week to serve meals to shelter and kitchen guests, and she also helps out in the food pantry. She said, "I'm just glad that Connecticut Foodshare partners with St. Vincent de Paul Mission. If it wasn't for this place, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at now. I don't know where I'd be if I didn't come to this program. At the holidays, you see Connecticut Foodshare. They'll fill up the truck, donate turkeys and all this. But when you actually see the work they do in the different places they go and all that goes along with it, they brought homelessness and food insecurity to the forefront. It's people's lives. Even though the pandemic's over, there's just as many people who are still food insecure with rising prices and the loss of jobs or lack of wages. When you go to a corner store, bread, eggs, milk, I think it would be about $20. I empathize with these people that come here, and I'm grateful for what I have. I feel good for just the little bit that I can do," end quote. These programs make a huge difference in the lives of the neighbors they serve, and you can too. Although we're working hard through all previously mentioned initiatives to support all of our partners and neighbors in Connecticut, we cannot be everything to everyone, and fighting food insecurity takes the collective support of the community. Your donations can help fill gaps for our programs, especially in the summer when need rises for children and families. Stock the Pantry comes at a critical time for many food assistance programs and families. While hunger tends to be the most visible around Thanksgiving and the winter holidays due to a lot of fundraisers, there's actually a really high need for food in the summer when fewer donations are coming into local programs. When children are out of school for the summer, they lose that steady meal, that their free or reduced price lunch, which may have been the only meal that they were getting during the week. There are policies that try to fill this gap, like the new summer EBT program, which allots $120 per child for the whole summer, and summer meals, which are congregate sites where anyone under 18 can sit down for a meal, no questions asked. However, these programs have their barriers. Last year, summer EBT was delayed until the end of July, and summer meal sites can be difficult to access without reliable transportation. That's why donations from individuals and companies to local organizations are so important. It can be the difference between a family getting a nutritious meal or not. United Way of Greater Waterbury has a very ambitious goal for their 20th anniversary of stocking the pantry to get over 20,000 pounds of food this summer. Reaching this goal will take some stress off of families and allow pantries to feel confident about their ability to serve everyone who walks in that door. And I'm confident that the Greater Waterbury community will make sure their neighbors can access the nutritious food that they need. And if you want to feel confident that your neighbors have resources they need year-round, think about scheduling a food drive on a regular basis. Fortunately, hunger doesn't take a break, and programs will always be looking for more food. You can even reach out to a local organization and ask what food they need most. Or volunteer at a local organization. They're always looking for another set of hands, and you'll truly meet some wonderful people who dedicate time to helping others. And of course, please raise awareness about this issue. Talk to your friends and family about food insecurity and pass along some of the information you learned today. Not everyone knows how widespread food insecurity is. Again, it is in every single town in this state, no exceptions. It can come in so many forms, and you never know who in your life might be going through a period of food insecurity. Talking about it can help mitigate the stigma surrounding the issue and bring more people in to join the fight against hunger. With that, I would like to thank you for being here today, especially on your lunch hour, and taking the time to learn about a pressing issue that's facing Greater Waterbury and Connecticut. Your support means a lot to us, our partner programs, our neighbors, and everyone out there dedicated to this cause. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Jackie, thank you so much for that amazing presentation and the information you provided, the statistics just highlighting the need in our state and in our community. I mean, the current and anticipated impact of the cuts that they'll have on individuals and families is shocking. Um, Connecticut Foodshare is doing so much to help support our local partners in the community, but the gap to be filled, there's just so much work to do. So thank you also for highlighting and lifting up Stock the Pantry, where we are trying to do our part during the United Way of Greater Waterbury Day of Action. For some of you that may not know, it's our 20th Stock the Pantry anniversary, and it started when the local partners here in Waterbury came to United Way and expressed their concern of the lack of food that they were experiencing over the summer months when the children were out of school more. And so that's how we got started. And it is continuing to go, and as you can see, continuing to grow. The need is. So we really do need your support. We usually have 40 to 50 companies that sign up to host food drives to help this cause. As Jackie mentioned, we have a goal of over 20,000 pounds of food. And if you would like to support Stock the Pantry this year, you can find all the information at unitedwaygw.org. You can sign up to either run a food drive or you can also donate. I have some questions let me see if I have any questions in the chat. Actually, no questions, just thank yous to Jackie for the information you provided. So as I said, if you would like to support United Way of Greater Waterbury Stock the Pantry this year, you can go to unitedwaygw.org. All the information is there on how groups or companies can sign up to host a food drive and then join us on June 25th for where everything will be dropped off and distributed to those local food partners that we are supporting. If there are no questions for Jackie, you are free to enjoy the rest of your lunch. Jackie, thank you so much. Again, we appreciate it. And I love the example you shared with St. Vincent de Paul culinary program that is a funded program of United Way of Greater Waterbury. So thank you
So glad to
for
hear that.
sharing
That's
that.
wonderful. Thank you so much for
Thank
having me
you.
on. It's my pleasure to share this information. I hope everybody learned something today.
I surely did. And also love the hydroponic ponds. I didn't know you had that in your parking lot. So that was something great to learn today.
It's just the coolest thing. I love sharing that. Everybody always has something interesting to say. Very cool. And I'll happily send over the slides so you can send them out to everybody who registered today.
I appreciate that. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm always nervous when I do these presentations, so your support is very much appreciated, and we all learned some great things today from Jackie. So let's all go to United Way's website and sign up for Stock the Pantry.
Woo!
Bye-bye.